Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. We are here at our pancreatic cancer annual fundraiser podcast marathon, just all around good times. We have our next special guest with us. We have Gina Powers. How's it going today?
Oh, it's going great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited that you're here. It hasn't been that long since we've had you on. I feel, was it this summer, right?
It was the summer with the release of my newest release, Great Divide, that co-wrote with Dave Monahan, another friend of yours, I believe, somebody else that you might know.
Yeah. How's everything been going for you? You're up in, you said you're in North Dakota right now, right?
Right now, I'm in North Dakota for a John Prine tribute. I'm super excited to do that this weekend in my hometown, Fargo Theater Show. And then I'll be headed back to Gary, South Dakota, where I'm the artist in residence and entertainment director, just keeping all things busy and music.
Nice. Hey, when do you perform for I'm assuming you perform today or this weekend?
This weekend, yep, tomorrow afternoon we have a show, and so I believe by the time, so 2 p.m. I think is our show. So that'll be fun, a Sunday matinee. And in fact, I was just here a couple weeks ago because we did a Carole King tribute with a good friend of mine, Kari Marie, who is a phenomenal accompanist pianist, and she does a great job on that tribute. We had a huge band, like 11 people, and we just rocked it out. So it's been a lot of fun doing tributes up here.
Nice. And are you finding that you're doing more and more of those types of shows, or is this kind of like a weird run for you right now?
No, I really love the tribute shows. You know, we did an Alanis tribute show, and that was my baby, and the Carole King show is Kari's baby, and then this John Prine tribute is Meryl Pepcorn's baby. So we have different musicians that have are able to highlight a certain musician and assemble. We have other tributes that are doing really well up in this region. I think people enjoy the nostalgia of music that is so familiar, and it takes them back to a certain place in time, certain time in life, and just brings that back, and everybody has such a great time. So tributes, I think, are they're a wonderful way to share music and share the musicians and the artists and the writers that inspired you.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
All of these tributes are definitely writing entertainers. So Carole King, as we know, prolific, a phenomenal writer, and wrote for so many folks, Beatles, the Monkees, well, all kinds of folks, and her own many releases. And then of course, Alanis, we all know that Jagged Little Pill album. That's fantastic. So, and then we do have other tributes coming up too. One that I'm not participating in, but I'm super excited because I get to be in the audience for it. And that's a System of a Down.
Oh, wow.
And we've already had that one up here with a mixed bill with some other acts, Limp Bizkit and some other, I can't remember who's been on what bill, but we've had a number of those and people really love them. I wonder if that's the thing in our region or if that's a thing all over the place. I'm not sure right now. I'm so focused on what we're doing up here.
I feel like that's probably a little bit more of a regionalized thing. Maybe not your region specifically, but places that don't necessarily get big name acts in on a regular basis.
Interesting.
I feel like, maybe the tribute acts are a little bit more prevalent, if that makes sense. So.
No, I definitely get that. And that's interesting too, because we do get some phenomenal acts up here. Fargo is a bigger entertainment city than people realize. And we do get a lot of phenomenal names. So I just think maybe we're an interesting mix. And I think I've seen this all over the US in my travels. We're an interesting mix of love for the nostalgia, the familiar, the things that comfort us, the stories that are timeless. And the tribute shows that seem to do well are those ones that have that timeless aspect to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're busy doing that right now and traveling between North Dakota, South Dakota, and you're staying busy, which I love it.
Thank you. I am staying busy. I love staying busy, and I'm looking forward to being busy in the down south.
Mm.
And by the way, if anybody's ever offended by the fact I say down south, I don't. I heard by somebody it's maybe not polite to say. It's just I'm thinking of it geographically. South is that way to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're up in North Dakota, anything is down south,
It kind of is. Everything is yeah, on a flat wall, you go straight down
right?
to get to
It,
warm.
it doesn't offend me in any kind of way, so you're
Okay, good
good.
to know. Good to
You're
know.
good on
So,
this.
but
Uh,
I do plan to spend some time in the South this winter. I will be doing some touring in Florida, and I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully, getting back to seeing some of my friends in Tennessee. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting, lots of writing. I'm working a lot on writing. I've got so much to release, so much to think about in that regard. Yeah, just a lot on the go in the creative end of things, which is really feels very luxurious.
yeah, for sure. It's great to own your time. That's something that I've been really reading into is about owning your time, and it seems like that's currently the phase of life you're in right now is just really owning your time.
I sure hope so. And one of the things about owning your time is you have to be disciplined enough to use your time well. And that's been a growth curve for me. I haven't always known how to organize my time in such the way that I can. I've always had a lot on the go.
Hmm.
Always had a lot on the go. But the music business is an interesting one because just as you think where you're going, an opportunity comes in there and that can, so it's just a really interesting, it's there's always something on the go. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's hard to kind of sometimes stay focused on that path because it's like, oh, I don't want to miss this opportunity to go in this direction. So that discipline has been something I've had to grow into. So I appreciate that I'm owning my time at a time in my life where I'm more in a position or have a little bit more wisdom to know how to use it well.
Nice. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Oh, so the last time you were on, we were talking about the Great Divide single, which was in June. My brain is starting to come back to me a little bit.
Well, welcome.
It's here. It's warming up a little bit. So how's everything been going with your music since the release of Great Divide?
It's been just a lot of fun and focus really on. We had a songwriter clinic in Gary at the resort. We're going to be putting more of those out. If anybody's interested in checking that out, please do check it out. Buffalo Ridge Resort and Spa. We've got all kinds of cool things. But anyway, yeah, the focus. I'm sorry. Ask me the question again because I lost track. I got so excited about the songwriter clinic. Oh, my single. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So, you know, I got to meet a lot of nice people like yourself and a lot of other folks, and that's been a lot of fun. But I think like a lot of singer-songwriters or a lot of musicians, when you release something, you're on to the next thing. And so I haven't to be honest, I haven't even checked to see like from a that standpoint, like how many numbers or anything like that,
Yeah.
I'm just really enjoying the opportunities I've had to sing it. I know Dave Lenahan, my co-writer, has been enjoying opportunities to sing that and perform that live in his circles and different opportunities. I believe he may have sung at the Bluebird Cafe, which feels
wow.
like
Yeah.
wow. I know he did perform there. He's not a stranger to that venue. And then in fact, on Sunday, the Radio All-Star Band will be playing the song live, and I will be singing it at the John Prine tribute concert. I'm one of a handful of writers that are have been asked to contribute an original piece of work to the show. And wow, so things like that have happened. And I'm just trying to, appreciate those things as they come, because it really does mean that, the song people are listening, they're hearing it. It hasn't died. It came out in June, and usually the life of a song is about 6 weeks. But now in this case, here we are more toward election, and people are still finding the song relevant and listening to the song. So I'm really proud of that one. I know Dave Lenahan is, John Willis, of course, the entire team with that. Yeah, to be honest with you, aside from that release and how that, I haven't paid a lot of attention. I've been in the creation and live performance mode. You know, that's the one thing about being an army of one. You have to pick. Right now, as I said, the wisdom, I'm going to do what makes the heart feel live and good. And right now, singing and sharing music with people in a live venue, and writing more stuff is really where my heart sings. So that's what I'm trying to do.
That's amazing. I love that. It's one of those things where I've been trying to be better about of, okay, don't necessarily focus on the analytical aspect of everything all the time.
Yeah.
Because I besides this, I work in an industry that is very analytically driven, where they want to see results, they want to see that growth, they want to see numbers getting bigger. And so I spend a lot of time just diving deep into analytics, and it's like, okay, we're losing them here, you know, like, because that's what I do, is I do content creation and all that stuff. So it's just kind of like I study that stuff. And so then when I come back here, and for my personal stuff, it's not the exact same. It's not equal. Like, it's not, I have, for my day job, I have dozens and dozens of people that are creating content, and it's my job to get it out there and grow the audience. Whereas here, I'm doing everything.
Right.
And it's like, I'm still so focused on those analytics, where it's like, I need to pull back on that one a little bit. So,
Yeah, and I think the analytics, especially in a situation like we're in with where we're talking about entertainment or you know, engaging an audience, it depends on. I mean, you can't just ignore analytics. If nobody's
yeah.
listening to it, then if your goal is to have it listened to and nobody's listening, then obviously those analytics need to, you know, you need to look at that. But if the goal is to get it out there and trust the process, in which I guess I feel like right now that's the phase of my life I'm in, when it comes to the creative stuff. I just feel like sometimes it's bigger than me. And that might sound a little esoteric, you know, it might. And I know that there's sciences behind all this algorithmic, you know, stuff and certain things you're supposed to put in. And it's such a formula and all of those. And I get all of that. But what makes my heart sing and makes me feel like I'm doing what God put me here to do is writing songs and singing them to people. And right now, I'm just trusting that that's leading me where I need to go, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So good luck to you on that. I hope that you can find a little small. I wish, my wish for everyone is that they could find a small area in their life where they could test out that theory.
Right. I'm working on it. I'm trying my best, you know, and I'm kind of I'm kind of hoping that with this fundraiser, which I do want to thank you for joining us here. This is such an important thing for me and a lot of people, and I just appreciate you donating some of your time to be a part of this and all that fun stuff. But I in the back of my head, it's kind of like I'm gonna have all this content like already ready to go, and hopefully I can shut my brain off in December, where it's like, okay, if I just grind it out throughout the entire month of November, get everything pre-posted and all that stuff, and just kind of like enjoy December for what December is.
Oh, yeah. Take a breath.
Yep. And then January 1, hit it again. You know, maybe next year I won't burn myself out.
You know, it's interesting you speak of that, not to take it to it's the idea of Sabbath. And I know that's a Christian idea, but that's also an idea that translates to other, you know, to other religions and other faith. This idea of rest and Sabbath. And I think in the world we live in, depending on what industry, you know, sometimes you can't do that Sabbath on a weekly basis. It feels like you kind of have to do it in seasons. And I think sometimes we judge ourselves so harshly for trying to figure out a way to do it right And I think what matters is that we honor and do that. And like you said, in your industry, you got to grind, you do kind of have to grind it out and pre-plan and pre-schedule. But if you're able to do that, then you do get that period of Sabbath. And my wish for you and prayer for you is that you enjoy every second of it and you breathe so deep and enjoy every moment of it, and take that full December for you and for whatever is coming next. January 2025. I'm excited to see what the year brings us.
Yeah. It's 2024 was such a transformative year. And this isn't just me speaking. I've talked to a lot of musicians this year, and they've all said 2024 was like a very pinnacle year. And
agreed.
All for good reasons. I don't know if it's, we're finally like, I feel like I've said this every year since 2022, but we're finally out of the shadow of COVID. We're not, like, I feel like 2022 and even into 2023, we were always worried about a relapse or it's spiking back up again. Everybody look out. And I feel like this year it was really kind of like, nope, we're not worried about it. Like, let's go. So,
right. Yeah.
And so I just feel like a lot of people went into 2024 with like this, okay, this is going to be a good year. And now it's got me really excited for 2025. And it's like, we've got invites and all these different things that are kind of happening. And we've got some events that are coming up here at the end of the year that are going to set us up really nice for 2025. It's like new concepts and new ways to kind of get our names out there. And it's like, okay, if those ideas work, 2025 is going to be an open book of opportunity. So,
oh, that's so great. I'm excited for you, for the podcast. And let me also say, there's no need to thank me. My for being here and volunteering my time to talk to you. I'm honored. It's an important cause. It's making sure that we continue to talk about and raise funds for pancreatic cancer. And I just wanted to put a shout out my friend from many years ago, Angela, recently lost her mother to pancreatic cancer in a very quick turnaround time. It was very tragic. Yeah. And oftentimes that's people's experience. My sorrow for the loss of those who have passed from pancreatic cancer. So thanks for doing this and giving us creators the opportunity to come in and talk about music for a good cause.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was kind of the whole, I'm going to mention this a whole bunch of times throughout the entire stream, throughout the entire day of the live stream. And this part of it was a no-brainer, because when my mom had passed, or right before she had passed, she would always kind of listen, because I had not moved in with her, but I had went down there and I'd stayed with my mom and my dad for about 3 months before she had passed. Because my dad needed help. He was dealing with some stuff on his own. He had been diagnosed with prostate cancer. And so he was coming off the back end of treatment for that. And, that was a whole different situation. And so I would go down, and I was trying to keep the podcast kind of going at that point. It was just kind of like, there's other things that are more important, but I also been building this for 5 years, so I can't just like let it sit there for 3 months,
Right.
So every once in a while I do a podcast just to kind of get one out and kind of keep a little momentum going. And she would sit there and listen to me do my interviews, except all she could ever hear was my side of the story, or my side of the conversation, because I always wear headphones, because I'm kind of a perfectionist in that way. I don't want to bleed over and all that stuff. And so she'd be like, I'd wake up the next morning, I'd be making her breakfast or just kind of sitting with her or whatever. And she'd be like, hey, the musician you were talking to last night, you'd asked him about Kentucky Lake or something, like, because at that time it was a lot of like Nashville artists that were from around the area. And she was like, what was their connection to Kentucky Lake? Because that was like a place that we'd go to all the time. And I'd have to kind of like fill her in on the podcast, because obviously I don't never expect her to like listen to the podcast. So it was just like rebuilding this connection through the podcast and kind of telling her what it was about. So yeah.
That's so special. That's really sacred time. That's really neat.
Yeah. And so and one of the last things she told me was to never give up on the podcast. So it's it's here for the long haul. Let's say that one.
Well, I'm happy about that, Tom. So
Yeah, I appreciate that. So kind of once again, I do want to thank you, and anybody interested in donating, there's a description link, all that fun stuff. You guys already know what it is. But Gina, I really appreciate you. What's kind of, obviously you've got these shows coming up, the tribute shows and all that stuff. And then once wintertime, you said you're hoping to get down to Florida to play some shows. Is that kind of the plan moving forward, or?
that's right. I'm looking forward to putting that calendar or that schedule of performances up soon. So,
Yeah.
and people can find that at ginapowersmusic.com. Right now, the schedule's not up yet, but it will be.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. Meantime, folks can go there and find all kinds of music and t-shirts and cute beanies and all kinds of things.
Awesome. Are you looking at your next song right now, or are you just kind of 100% live and all that fun stuff?
No, I have some I have 3 albums that I'm working on concurrently. And so it's a matter of fundraising at some point to get those recorded. And I'm hoping to work with the same producer. I just love working with John Willis. And so I'll be looking to schedule time with him to get, I've got them named, I've got them ready to go. The first one coming out though is going to be Dakota. It's already written, it's ready. And I have another one that's all jazzed up. That's going to be some of my more jazzy original stuff. And yeah, and then an album that's more sacred gospel style. Yeah, so I've got stuff that's written, that's ready to go, but you know, the money has to come too. So I got to figure out a way to fund all that and we'll get it out. So I'll probably be talking to some fans and seeing if some folks want to do some pre-purchase planning and stuff like that and see if we can get some stuff out.
Nice.
I'd really love to put some stuff out on vinyl.
Nice. I love vinyl. I'm currently in the so I have one of those little Victrola suitcase ones that you could get at that you got at like Best Buy, like was it about 5-6 years ago? They were selling them at like Best Buy or whatever.
Yeah.
So I got one of those, and I'm in the process of trying to build out a little stand over here that I put like my vinyls in, and just kind of like a very, very vintage throwback to like, yeah. And so anytime I go to a show and somebody's selling vinyl, if I can afford it, I'm going to pick up one of those vinyls. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. I'll make sure to remember that when the vinyl finally does come out.
Nice. But you did reiterate a something that I've been trying to figure out how to help musicians, and it just kind of reaffirms that my plans that I want to try and pull off in 2025 is something that I definitely need to be doing, about helping fundraising and all that fun stuff. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag too much, but yeah. So it's something that we've been toying with for a very long time, and the hard part is the legality of everything, you know.
Sure.
Because you're
there's
talking,
always some technical thing behind the scenes. There's so much stuff behind in the back end of things that folks don't realize goes into some of these things.
Oh yeah, for sure. So once again, I do want to thank you. I don't want to keep you here too much longer, because you're in this central time zone. Yeah, North Dakota's in central time zone. I don't know why I thought it was in like Eastern time zone, but then I was like, no, it's west of Chicago, and yeah, I don't know. So
yeah, kind of straight up the middle almost. Ka-chung, right up there.
Yeah.
Way up there.
Yeah. I'm almost positive we talked about this last time, but I'm glad I didn't end up making that move to North Dakota, because it was like North Dakota and it was West North Dakota, and yeah.
But although, you know, North Dakota has a lot of lovely reasons to be here. So,
Yeah.
and South Dakota as well. I've been in South Dakota all summer here in this fall, and I've been enjoying it very much. I hadn't spent, even though I was so close, hadn't spent that much time there until recently, a little here and there for shows.
Yeah.
But man, I really enjoy that little town I'm living in, Gary, South Dakota. It's just the most fabulous town. The people are wonderful. Yeah, I'm enjoying my stint in small town America, population 207, and right, and then we fill that thing up on the weekends with events and all kinds of fun things. So it's a great place to be.
So is it fair to say on the weekends you double the population?
There might be times. There might be times.
That's great. Oh, I will say when we first jumped on, I didn't pick up that you said Gary, South Dakota. All I heard was in Gary, and the city that my dad used to work in when we were growing up was Gary, Indiana.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, wait a minute. I feel like I'd remember it if we had a Gary, Indiana connection. But then then I think later on you'd slid in the South Dakota thing, and I was like, oh, okay, different city, completely different city.
Different city. There's a little teeny tiny town in Minnesota called Gary, and then there's another bigger town in Minnesota near Duluth called Gary. So there's so many Garys. Of course, Gary, Indiana is the most famous of the Garys.
And not for necessarily the best of reasons.
But the Jacksons did come from there.
Yes. Actually, so I just remember my dad always telling me the stories because he grew up around that area, and he used to always tell me stories about how he would see the Jackson family perform at the Lake County Fair.
Wow, yeah.
And there was always this little kid named Michael that was always so talented, but nobody ever paid attention to him because at the time he was like 4 years old.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So it's, yes. Now that you mentioned that, I retract my previous statement. They're known for a lot of good things, but they are also at one point like the second deadliest city in the country or something. So.
Well, yeah, I'd love to see Gary reinvigorated, Gary, Indiana. I've driven through it a few times and it's quite shocking. I took pictures actually because it was quite shocking, the urban blight. But you know what? Everything has its day and everything has an opportunity for renaissance when it's time. So you never know. Gary could be the most thriving, wonderful place to be in 10 years from now. You never know what could happen.
Yeah. I mean, there are, like, I know a lot of people there that are really trying to revitalize it. And, a lot of it's the steel industry left so quickly out of Gary and went, that the support there just kind of isn't there. So,
yeah. But absolutely. But there's always hope for tomorrow. 2025 is coming. As you said, Tom, 2025, that's going to be a great year.
It is.
Yeah, good things.
It really is. It really is.
Thank you so much for inviting me to talk today. I just enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, I enjoyed the conversation. Once again, hit them with the website. So if anybody wants to check out your music and all that fun stuff.
You can find me at ginapowersmusic.com, at Facebook, at TikTok, at any of the socials, Gina Powers Music. If you want to send me an email, that'd be great too. ginapowersmusic@gmail. I'd love to talk to you.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will be back here in a little bit with our next musical guest.